What is good, gang? Oh my goodness, it's been a minute since I've actually streamed on this platform. I know listen, guys. I know it's been a while. All right, I've been busy as hell. All right, with the other channel and then this one, but I'm not gonna hold you because there is some important things going on right now that I think a lot of people should be paying attention to. And it has to do with a lot of our lives in the U.S. If you're living in the U.S. and many Western states, and what it could potentially come about within the next couple years, right? And it'll be very crazy. We saw the title. We already know what this is all about. This is all about World War III. Now, why am I saying World War III, right? Is because the deep state agenda, right, to fulfill, and by deep state, I'm talking about westernized deep state agenda to fulfill basically a war, a global war with China, has to be done in the next 2 years. Now, one must ask the question, why? Why do we want to go fight a bunch of Chinese all the way across the world? Like, what interest could we have possibly in the Pacific Ocean, right? Why do we need to be there? Well, if you ask certain people, they'll tell you, well, no, it's to protect Taiwan. Okay, we got to protect Taiwan. Taiwan obviously is a sovereign nation, and as a sovereign nation, well, we have to go ahead and protect their independence, right, from the big communist China. And if you look over Western mainstream media, that's the kind of stuff that you see, right? The kind of messaging. Well, Taiwan, their sovereignty is threatened by China. They're gonna come take them over. All the hell of a jazz, right? You hear all that stuff going on. But what the government isn't telling you and what the media isn't telling you is that the United States knows that Taiwan is not an independent nation. Matter of fact, the United States also agrees with the People's Republic of China that Taiwan actually belongs to the People Republic of China. Now, you guys hearing this news, you guys are going to be like, well, dude, something doesn't make any sense because throughout me listening to the mainstream media out there, they make it seem as though that Taiwan is an independent country and China wants to take them over. Well, that's actually not the case. Okay. And what we're gonna be fighting here on this channel is a bunch of westernized propaganda. Because what I said on my other channel is that the biggest export that the US has is not oil. All right, it's not intellectual capabilities. It's not even a military industrial complex with the weapons and arms and things like that. No, it's propaganda, media, right? Social engineering. That is the biggest export of the United States out there. So westernized media is what a lot of people are digesting and consuming throughout the global world, because the US has spent a lot of time basically building and fortifying their global media empire. Why do you think when you see the war going on right now with Ukraine and Russia, well, not even Ukraine anymore because they're not really even a country. We're more like NATO and Russia. When you're looking at this big conflict, right? It's not just a war with arms on the ground where people are shooting each other with guns, tanks, and artillery rounds. No, it's not just that. They call this war a hybrid war. And why they call it a hybrid war? Because you have different elements like the cyber world. You even have the media world, in which we're focusing on today, right? The big media apparatus that has been lying to us throughout this whole entire war and since it's gotten off. They've lied to us about the casualties that either side have been facing, right? Whether it's on Ukraine or whether it's on Russia. They've lied to us about the certain towns that were being taken over, the certain strategic importance of those towns that are being taken over or lack thereof. They've lied about so many different things. It's almost crazy how the mass majority of Americans, not just Americans, but westernized individuals, don't see the clear con for what it is, right? We are responsible ultimately for what's going down in Ukraine and what's going on with the Ukrainian people. Because what you guys don't understand is in Ukraine, for us to understand what's going on in China, what's going to happen in China within the next couple of years, we also have to pay attention to what's happening in Ukraine now, okay? Because possibly we might end up fighting a war on two fronts if this Ukrainian situation, this whole NATO versus Russia situation, isn't zipped up tight locked up before we pivot to China, because everyone else in the defense department, they'll let you know that, yeah, okay, Ukraine and Russia, I guess maybe they're threats, or they were, which realistically, now that we've made Russia stronger with this whole Ukraine debacle, it's not looking too good. But the United States are going to do the best that they can to zip this war up before they pivot to Asia, right? And you're already starting to see some of the signs of pivoting, right? With the Air Force general, 4 stars, right? I mean, you're pretty up there. They don't just let you say shit as a 4-star general if you're not authorized to say shit, right? And he sent out a memo that was leaked, right? Quotations on leaked, basically telling his team to prepare for war in the Pacific, prepare for war in China. He fears that war in China is going to be inevitable by 2025. First things first, can we just stop right here and just point out the obvious hypocrisy, right? Imagine if North Korea, right? If the 4-star Air Force general of North Korea basically said, yeah, you know what, guys, we're thinking about fighting the United States by 2027. Yeah, we think that's going to be the next best thing, guys. So all you guys, ready up the missiles, all right? Ready up the artillery, ready up all your arms, because we are going to war, or possibly going to war, or I fear we might be going to war with the United States by 2027. How do you think the U.S. would react to that? Probably with their heads on fire, right? Like, holy shit, this fucking tiny nuclear armed nation is planning war with the United States. We gotta go in. We gotta go in. That's a no-brainer, right? But here on the other side, if it's the US calling for war for other sovereign nations, it's just normal, right? It's just something that why not? We just go through it like every day, because we're the big guys. We're the US. It is what it is, right? So this guy comes out, the general. Let's pull up this article. It says Mike Minihan is his name, right? And Mike Minihan, his whole shtick is basically, he sent out this memo stating that by 2025, there may be a war with Russia, right? The 4-star general sent a memo on Friday to the officers he commands that predicts the U.S. will be at war with China in 2 years, and tells them to get ready to prep by firing a clip at a target and aim for the head. In a memo sent Friday, obtained by NBC News, General Mike Minihan, head of the Air Mobility Command, said, "I hope I'm wrong. My gut tells me we will fight in 2025." What the hell kind of omen is that? Now, here's the thing. For those of you guys reading that right now, when you guys are wondering, well, why would a freaking 4-star general, why would he even make the statement that he thinks that we might be fighting by 2025? Well, it's because there's a bunch of things happening right now in the greater world that the media propaganda of the westernized coalition has prevented a lot of Westerners from actually seeing, right? Because although you see media on China, they'll tell you that China is weak, China is falling apart, China's collapsing, people are rising up to protest against China, Xi Jinping is in trouble, China has all these banking crises, China has all these real estate crises, China is going to blow up, China is done. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys have not heard any one of those combinations of news coming in from westernized sources, right? When you hear news about China, it's almost like this country that's it's on the verge of falling apart, right? And I used to actually buy into that, right? And because there's certain signs that you see in China where, okay, they're, especially with the real estate market, it just doesn't make any sense, right? They have all these erected buildings all over the place that no one's living in, right? And some of realistically, how much of that was westernized propaganda versus what's actually going on in China? Because realistically, countries like that, and even countries like Russia, they're very, very, very good at keeping information about their peoples lock and key. So when these experts, these Western experts, these Western analysts, when they come out and they tell us that these are the things that are going on in China, and China is awful, they're on the verge of falling apart, I find it very, very difficult to believe them, because I don't understand where their sources are coming from. Why? Because if we look at the Russia situation as an example, it tells us every single thing that we need to know, right? Because the same exact rhetoric was actually said against Russia. Russia is falling apart. Russia's economy can't take any more sanctions from the United States because, or from the collective West, because Russia is on the verge of falling apart. Russia, the people are protesting in the streets right now to go ahead and overthrow Putin. These are the same kind of rhetorics we've been hearing from westernized sources. And here, when we've exhausted all of our sanctions packages that we could possibly levy against Russia, one thing that we notice is their economy isn't collapsing. Matter of fact, their economy has gotten stronger. Their military isn't collapsing. Matter of fact, they're calling up almost 1 million soldiers to get ready to body Ukraine. So that's not true, right? So they're running out of artilleries. They're lobbing 50,000 shells at Ukrainian strongholds every day. 50,000 shells. Do you know what that is? That's like looking up in the sky and seeing just black of nothing but artillery shells raining down on you. And there are situations where soldiers are complaining about how devastating the situation is down there because it's nonstop constant shelling that these guys are under, which enables Russian troops or Russian forces, as they're called, to move into these countries and basically dominate and take over, right? Not countries, I'm sorry, cities, right? It's just because they're able to do that. So it tells you that what the westernized media is telling us about what's going on with the war is not the same thing that is actually going on the ground. There's a big reason why. Okay, so now pivoting back to the whole China situation, right? So why is this very important, right? Because right now the US sees this moment in time, 2025, as the only shot it has in taking on another superpower like China, right? A near peer competitor is what they like to call China, right? They don't really view Russia as that way, although the way Russia is behaving in Ukraine, I think we should probably revise a lot of that categories we put under Russia. But now we're looking at China, another near peer enemy or enemy, right? And we're so hungry to take him out. Now, why is this, right? Well, I would tell you this: the biggest reason why United States right now in the collective West are worried about China is because of what happened with Hong Kong. Now, you guys were asking, like, well, Hong Kong. What the fuck does Hong Kong have to do with Taiwan? Well, Hong Kong was another territory that actually originally belonged to the People's Republic of China, right? The whole Communist Party situation going on there. Recently, actually, Hong Kong has been peacefully reunified with mainland China, right? Matter of fact, this article that came out in 2022 that talks about such, right? Talked about how Beijing basically has achieved the peaceful reunification of Hong Kong, and now what's life going to be like for the Hong Kong, right? Are they going to still hold on to their capitalism, or are they going to be subjected to the communist authoritarian regime of the mainland, right? What's going to happen? So that's scaring a lot of people because the policies that China had and the fact that they were successful in peacefully reunifying with Hong Kong, well, guess what? They got Taiwan now in their sights. And the thing is, with China has a lot of freaking time to accomplish this goal. I mean, they're more of a long-term planning nation than any other nation out there, maybe besides Russia, right? And Russia, they understand how to keep things under lock and key. That's why some of these analysts coming out of here and telling you that, Russia's falling apart, this is what's happened in Russia. Don't listen to them, because a lot of Russia is very good at keeping information under lock and key. A lot of these analysts, westernized analysts or think tanks, they're just guessing. They're all guessing. And if this war isn't telling you how good their guessing and assumptions have made an ass of them, so far, I don't know what else to tell you, right? But now China has their eyes set on Taiwan. They've already reunified with Hong Kong. Hong Kong is part of mainland China now. All right. So whatever Western influence was there, it belongs to China now. So now they're looking at Taiwan and they're walking closely towards that process. But here's the problem. There are two different reasons why the US has to stop this. Well, actually, three different reasons. First and main one is the reunification of Taiwan with mainland China threatens U.S. position and interest within that South China area, the South Chinese Sea area, right? So it threatens our interests, particularly with the. And I mean, people are saying the microchips and whatnot. Although what you don't know is there are a lot of other companies and components that are involved in creating these microchips. So, for instance, I think it's like is it Sweden or Norway where there's a factory, there's a specific component of these semiconductors that are created that you can only find or in the factory in Norway. So these conductors, Taiwan is just that hub that puts every piece together. But in reality, there are other countries that are involved in these semiconductors and chip manufacturing. So that it threatens that interest, but what it does is it pretty much blocks the U.S. access to the South China Sea if the reunification of Taiwan is allowed to peaceful unification of Taiwan is allowed to progress, right? So we're talking about the loss of power. We're talking about loss of potential influence and financial resources, and basically the loss of access to that particular region. And these are three big things that when you're looking at a massive hegemonic superpower like the United States, right? That's a big no-no because there isn't a quadrant of this world that we don't have an influence in. And if we start to lose that influence, we're going to have to figure out ways to disrupt the situations. And what are we doing to disrupt the situation in Taiwan? Well, look at Nancy Pelosi, for example. For those of you guys don't know, Nancy Pelosi, in her infinite wisdom, decided it was a great idea to make an unannounced, unpermitted visit to Taiwan to meet the leadership, right? Now, optic wise, the way that looks is you have a U.S. top official that's traveling to meet the leader of this republic or this region that supposedly belongs to Beijing. What this U.S. top official or political official is doing essentially to the public world is legitimizing the Taiwanese government situation there, and China doesn't like that because that's grounds for provocation, right? You're asking to start something because they have a process to reunify Taiwan with China, and you are stumbling in the way of that. So that's the first thing. The second thing we're doing to frustrate the situation is we're also now sending weapons. I don't know if we're sending weapons officially, but I'm sure that there's going to be some situations going on when we're going to end up start flooding that area either with weapons or military training for their soldiers, things like that. We're already doing it with Japan. We already started a joint military training a program with Japan. And if you guys look on the map, Japan is it's actually part of some of the islands of Japan is part of that first island chain along with Taiwan that the U.S. is so worried about right this moment. So why not put air bases on those islands in Japan, train up the Japanese troops, arm them, along with the Taiwanese, and then getting ready to provocation for China, right? So we're doing all these different things to basically slowly start pushing for war. Now, when you guys are looking at this and you're saying, well, what is the rest of the world doing, right? Because last I checked, it's not just the United States, right? You got the rest of the world. You got NATO and the European countries and whatnot. Well, you could take Ukraine out of it because Ukraine is not going to be a country in next by the end of this year. Ukraine is pretty much done as a country. I would be surprised if Putin lets any piece of Ukraine exist with U.S. still holding on to promises of arming whatever's left of that country. So if within Russia's interest, their whole goal is to get rid of the Ukraine problem. And to get rid of the Ukraine problem, Zelensky's got to go. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets deleted at some point in time. But Zelensky has to go. And what's probably going to happen is once Russia finish cleaning house, they're probably going to lock it up. If they haven't deleted Zelensky, they're going to work on doing that and probably put some kind of puppet leader in charge of that whole situation. And boom, Ukraine officially part of the Russian state, right? So that's what's going to happen. That's not going to be a problem anymore. So they're no longer considered a European country. But if you look at some of these other European countries like France, right? What is Macron doing? What about Germany? What is Olaf Scholz doing, right? What are these leaders of these other European countries that are supposed to stand for, liberty and freedom and all this other Western bullshit, right? Well, I'll tell you this: they're not doing shit. Matter of fact, they're not prepared to do anything. Why? Because each of these European countries, minus Turkey, yeah, right, minus Turkey, are all vassal states of United States Empire, right? And by vassal states, meaning they're states with no individual leader, no real leader, right? You look at most of these European politicians, quote unquote leaders, you look at them and you get the sense of these people, they're not real leaders. Look at Olaf Scholz. You let the US bully you into sending German tanks in Ukraine to fight Russians. What? Where have I heard this before? Oh wait, this was World War II. Germany fought Russian tanks in Ukraine, but only this time, or last time, it was Nazis versus the Russians. Oh wait a minute. Yeah, a big significant chunk of Ukrainian army is filled with Azov fighters, right? The Azov battalion, or at least the Azov regiment now, because they've gotten more people recruited into that, and they're known for being Nazis. That's crazy. And oh, guess what? The Germans are no longer sending Leopard 2 tanks. That's done, all right? They don't want their proprietary technology falling into the wrong hands or potentially getting destroyed by a Russian Federation. So instead, they're gonna send Leopard 1 tanks, right? And some of these Leopard 1 tanks, they still got like the old markings of the Third Reich, right? And these tanks that got the markings of the Third Reich are going to be used by Azov Nazis to fight Russians in Ukraine. If you want to tell me that history doesn't repeat itself, I'll agree with you. But it certainly does rhyme. Yeah, all of this shit sounds so familiar. It's not even funny. But what's even crazier than that is how, like, the collective West and the media propaganda machine got a bunch of us to support Nazis. I find that insane. I just I just find that crazy that, like, a lot of people, right? If history were to look back on this day and age, right, they would look back at a bunch of people who, if you would ask them individually, they would say, yeah, fuck Hitler and all that stuff like that, right? But if you look at the big picture, they're the same ones that are supporting this Nazi regime, flooding it with your own tax dollars. So back to the original point I was making. A lot of these European countries, they're all vassal states of the United Empire, right? United States Empire. They're vassal states. So what that means is a lot of the politicians that are put in place in Europe, all right, we backed them. All right. And the reason why we back them is because they have to follow a certain ideology, and that ideology has to come from Washington. Yes, that goes for governments in New Zealand, that goes for Australia, all of these countries, right? So, what does this do? Essentially, what this does is these countries lack the autonomy to act for what's right for their citizens, right? Why do you think you go to UK, there are a bunch of protests? You go to France, there are nonstop protests. You go to Germany, holy shit, they're nonstop protests. Energy prices are going up. Because the people know the government has not acted within the interest of the people. But why? Because the government is not there for the people. It wasn't put in place for the people. It was put in place to further United States interests. And if you guys don't think that this is what we're doing across the world, this is what we're doing across the world, right? Now we're looking at China and Russia, the two biggest blocks in the East that we can't really do that to, right? I mean, right now we're trying. That's the whole point. We're trying with Russia. That's the whole point with Ukraine. Ukraine was designed to break up Russia into 5 different blocks. Okay, so then we can, go in and just destroy and pillage and take whatever resource we can from Russia, right? That was the whole goal, right? We tried to use Belarus. That didn't work, right? Lukashenko said, "Oh fuck," and U.S. is they're trying to plot a coup, man. They're trying to take us over. What is this? And this is how we do it. We get a bunch of left wingers, okay? We get a bunch of left wingers and we get them to start protests in their own country, right? And within those left wing protests that you see, I want you guys to pay attention to this, right? There are people embedded with there to cause chaos, mass enough chaos to get the law enforcement involved. And with the law enforcement involves, boom, they sneak the militia right underneath. And before you know it, the militia overthrows the law enforcement, they storm into the government, and boom, regime change in that country. That's how it works. That's how it works in every other country. We go in there, we infuse them with all these left-wing ideologies, right? All this stuff that, it gets a bunch of people riled up. If you guys notice, a lot of the same tactics were used here at home. What do you think Antifa, the whole idea of Antifa came from? What do you think? The government social engineers left-wing protests, right? Because you notice even during the pandemic, there were protests that were okay, and then there were other protests that were not okay. Did you guys notice that pattern, right? And you notice the protests that were okay were the most violent ones that caused millions of dollars worth of damages. People got hurt. People were killed, right? What was that whole debacle in Seattle, right? Where literally these armed militias took over a freaking town. They were LARPing as some kind of freedom liberators, right? That only happened if someone allowed that crap to happen, damn it. So if you don't think these regime change tactics we do abroad, you don't think we do that at home, you are mistaken. Antifa was a whole part of it. We get a bunch of peaceful left-wing protests to protest a cause that seemingly everyone should be a part of, but they sneak these militias in there to cause problems. The Arab Spring, it was the same nonsense. We get these guys to protest, we send in the militias topple the government, and then we put the guys that we want into place. So every other nation around the world has had this done to them, minus China and Russia. That's why we're pissed. We can't have Russia be an independent nation with its own religion, with its own borders, with its own values. No, because that is a problem with the United States liberal hegemony. We have to dominate the world. So if this block of people aren't falling in line, we make them fall in line. If you guys don't know, there was something called the Rand Report, right? And the Rand Corporation is they're basically like a think tank for defense industries and defense contractors. And they had a paper put out a while ago where they talked about the possibilities of what may happen if we attempt to use Ukraine to weaken Russia, right? And if you look through that whole report, matter of fact, if we have enough time, I might actually play that in this live stream. But if you look at that whole report, that report gives you a step-by-step breakdown of what United States needs to do in Ukraine. Go in there, arm the populace, or not the populace, the military. Build up their arms, build up their combat capabilities with Western arms. Okay, and then we start provoking them. We start provocations, right? We even look at the war map right now. Right, these regions that you see here, let me make it full screen. These regions that you see here, the Kherson, what do you call it? Where's the area that's fighting? Bakhmut. There's Bakhmut right over here, right? So the Donetsk, Lugansk region, that's all this stuff right here. And for those of you guys don't know, I gotta find Bakhmut again. Bakhmut is the country where everyone is talking about right now, right? So here, going back to the original plot of this, right? So what the Ukrainian government was doing while they were still in power is they were attacking and bombing the next regions, all of these regions right here, right? The regions that Russia is performing these special military operations with, right? And mind you, the same tactics the U.S. used to get rid of or regime change governments is the same thing that was done in Ukraine. Believe it or not, what happened? How else did you think Zelensky got in power? It wasn't by accident. We overthrew the last guy in charge and we put Zelensky in. All right. So he was our guy to start this war with Russia. And that was it. There was nothing else, if, ands, or buts about it. Right. And what the Russians were worried about was, hey, well, these guys, we don't want them arming being armed with nukes because that's right up on our border, man. Moscow's down the street. We can't have that, right? So everyone that's telling you this is an unprovoked war, it wasn't an unprovoked war. Ukraine provoked it with Western permission. All right, it's all there, right? Now going into this, let's actually look at this real quick. Where you go into so when this map is called it's called a live UA map. A lot of people use this to figure out what's going on in the war right now. And one of the main things that you hear right now in the media is, hey, Bakhmut is on the verge of being encircled, right? And if you look at Bakhmut, which is right over here, you can start to see, what's going on. They're shelling the fuck out of this area right now, and you see these rifle marks over here. These rifle marks indicate where there's fighting going on, right? So you see the Russians are basically fighting right here over at the city line right up here, right? But also what you will notice is artillery strikes and fighting right over here, right? So this is the encirclement plan that Russia is building for Bakhmut right now. And whatever soldiers are trapped in here, they're either going to be captured or killed. All right. And Russia isn't going to stop there. They're gonna keep moving. They're doing this town by town, city by city. They'll slowly come up, do kind of like a pincer maneuver after they've broken through, right? The last place they captured was Soledar. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, a lot of the news going on around that time, they were telling you that, oh, Soledar is where the salt mines were, and there's no way Russians gonna take over Soledar. It is what it is, right? Boom. What ended up happening? They took Soledar, and now because they took Soledar, it puts them in a perfect position not only to complete the encirclement of Bakhmut, but they're gonna use Soledar as an area to punch towards Seversk, right? Or Seversk, where's that out there? Right over here, right? So we got to go back a little bit. So they're using Soledar because they've punched through that line right now. They've broken through the Ukrainian line, right? So if you notice, once they punch through the Bakhmut, what you're gonna see is you're gonna see guys go right up here towards that airport. You're gonna see guys flank them right over here. Their main thing is to cover this area right here. And you're going to start hearing things in the media about Seversk being the next area of where this battle is going to take place after the capture and encirclement of Bakhmut. So realistically, we dropped the ball here. We really dropped the ball here when the Rand Corporation put forth this plan that we're following right now. So we've made Russia a lot stronger of a nation, and most of these other European vassal states are much weaker for it. Matter of fact, the reason why a lot of these people are weak is because that we're taking care of the military. That's the whole reason why a lot of these European nations are weak. They're sucking off the giant titties of the United States right the fuck now. That's what's happening. Okay, so we even came out with a report saying that the UK military is not even it's not even up to par anymore, right? They don't even have the equipment and resources to even fund their quote unquote ally Ukraine, right? So they're not in the best spot. Why? Because the United States is funding all of this stuff for their vassal states, okay? And that's the only way they can keep this going. And now, if you notice what's going on with China, Taiwan is going to be the launching point for the next attack, right? Taiwan, the U.S. can't let that uranification go down the way they're planning on letting it go down. Because remember, China, they got nothing but time. They got over 1 billion people. They got a shit ton of money, right? Because they're building global connections across the world, right? And now, thanks to the shenanigans that we pulled with Russia, they now have a cheap, reliable source of oil that they're gonna get, because that's one of China's biggest problem. How are they gonna get the oil, right? Well, we just pushed Russia into the arms of China, right? We have sanction packages put on them. We got oil price caps put on them, right? So what do you think they're gonna go? They're gonna go towards the next big economic bloc to the east, their neighbors, right? So now, although they're flooding Chinese oil markets with cheap oil, right? It's still more than enough to pay for the war that they're beating Ukraine over the head with, right? And also it gives the Chinese Communist Party reliable source of fuel for whatever war is getting ready to pop off. So do you understand how things are starting to slowly connect here, right? And if you don't think Russia is going to back China and what's going on, you got one thing mistaken. That's for sure. The Russia and Chinese alliance is going to be like that, right? Because Russia prematurely is going to be focused on draining United States resources, right? When we talk about the Western country, we're basically talking about United States because remember, United States is Big Daddy, all right, and all these other countries are just vassal states, okay? They're babies just sucking off the titties of their mama, okay? So when we talk about funding, we're talking about the United States. So what's going to end up happening is Russia's whole goal is to drain as much resources as possible from NATO. Again, when we talk about NATO, we're basically talking about the United States, okay? And then they're basically it. So as because what you guys don't understand about the Russian strategy when we go back here, a lot of people thought the losses that Russia was taking in Bakhmut. Holy shit! Russia, they're taking so much losses, over 200,000 people dead. Lies, right? It's not true. Matter of fact, Russia, their whole goal is to destroy the Ukrainian army, right? So they're going to hold on to these lines and they're going to move as incrementally as possible. They're not doing this blitzkrieg type of war that the United States are used to doing when we're fighting brown people in Middle Eastern countries, right? These blitzkrieg type of war that ends in like 100 hours or 100 days, all right? That's the kind of war we're used to because we're over here blowing past, running rush shots over people throwing RPGs and rocks at us. That's what it is, right? So a lot of Americans have gotten to their mind, well, this war, it's not even over. It's taken a year. Russia must be weak. No, they're not stupid because Ukraine is a different beast than Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and all these other places. Ukraine is a near peer adversary to Russia because they're being armed with NATO grade weapons. And that's what Russia has been preparing to fight. All of their arms, military, everything was to fight and destroy NATO based weapons and troops. That's what they're meant to do. So this unfair comparison most Westerners are making with the battle in Russia, United States, we haven't fought or we don't even have experience fighting a near peer enemy or adversary since World War II. You can say Vietnam, but Vietnam was embarrassing. No, Vietnam was embarrassing for the U.S. We got our asses kicked by a bunch of people hanging in jungles and trees. Lots of soldiers died. Same thing in Russia. It's the same thing in Ukraine, right? Where a lot of people, a lot of Ukrainian troops or NATO trained troops are dying. They're being killed, destroyed. So don't get it twisted. The U.S. hasn't had serious experience fighting a near peer competitor, period. We're seeing it play out right now with the proxy war in Ukraine, and it's not going well for us because a lot of these NATO sent arms are being depleted and destroyed by Russian arms. So there's a lot of things going on here. We can't compare this blitzkrieg to the slow incremental advance because for Russia, their kind of war style is working. If they overextend, there might be lines or gaps that a lot of Ukrainian resistance can shoot through and break apart. So they're not doing that. Every single region that you see here, right, you see an incremental attack, right? And one of the main things that a lot of the Ukrainians are worried about right now is the troops that Russia is stating are putting up towards the north, right? Because they're worried. These are also Belarusian soldiers, so they don't know what's going to happen, right? Are they going to come in and attack Kiev, right? Because that's a big money center, and this is how close Minsk and Belarus is, right? Remember, I think there's over 300,000 soldiers, Russian soldiers stationed right over here, right? And a lot of people thought that the Russia's first attack on Kiev was the main attack. They thought it was the main thing going on. What they didn't realize is that what the Russians were doing is their battle strategy initially was to make a feint like they were gonna come after the capital of Kiev, because that's what most Western war documentarians would suggest that they would do, right? Just go for the capital, cut off the head, right? But that's not what Russia intended to do, right? They feinted towards the capital and drew a lot of Ukrainian troops away from where the real battle was going to be taking place. And even Western sources will tell you that during the first stages of the war, although Russia wasn't successful here, they made way too many gains towards the east, right? So now they're pulling up. They're going to complete the land bridge here. And then they could possibly even get Odessa too. So there's a lot of things going on. I believe they're going to go way past Odessa and they're going to march towards the West Ukraine. And if anything, they should. They should march into West Ukraine. Why? Because listen, if I was a leader of a country, I would want to get rid of that threat right off the bat. It's gone. Get it away from my block, get it away. So if I have a chance to take over Ukraine, I would do that. And I think that's what Putin's doing. But the thing is, not a lot of people can guess what the Russians are trying to do. So while Western resources are going to be drained in Europe, we're also simultaneously getting ready for a war in towards the east, towards China. So, you know, first things first, here's where a lot of you young guys who are either watching this or who are going to come across this video or whatever it is, this is where it's going to come into play, because the US and a lot of people within the US are deluded to believing that we have the capabilities to fight a war on two fronts. And as a matter of fact, that's been part of our military doctrine for a very, very long time. What they don't understand is that's no longer the case. We don't even have the finance shit. Talk about the finances. We don't even have the finances to fund a full war. But I'm guessing they'll figure out a way to do it, right? They'll figure out how, Jerome Powell, he's going to figure out a way to maneuver the money, right? And we're somehow going to get the money to fund these two wars. But a lot of you young guys, this could potentially be your future. With the general coming out, 4-star general basically coming out saying that he fears there might be a conflict in 2025. We don't have the manpower to call up millions of troops just like that, right? We're going to certainly try. You're going to see one of those draft buildups, because you got to understand, we're going after a near peer competitor all the way in the east, right? And these guys have billions of people. Now, why is 2025 that point in time? Because 2025, if the US doesn't get China at this point in time, China will be too strong. Yeah. No. That's essentially what it is. If we don't take out the Chinese threat right now, militarily, and kind of like kneecap them, right? Kneecap them, put them in their place, right? Make sure they don't get any funny ideas against the U.S. empire, right? If we don't get it done now, we may not ever get it done, because although we like to criticize China about their population decline because they got way too many old people versus young people, which is cap. China actually has a lot of young men. Matter of fact, a lot of these young men, there's so much dudes, there's not a lot of females. All right, thanks to the whole one-child policy. Where do you think a lot of these frustrated men are gonna go? Into the military. So we're gonna be fighting a bunch of incels, okay? We're in the Pacific. So just keep that in mind. That's what's gonna be going on, because they got a shit ton of Chinese males right now, way more than the females, that they got a lot of time to thin out. Right, so they can send those boys over there. It don't even matter. That's who we're gonna be fighting, okay? And even the amount of people we have in our military right now still will not be enough to combat that, right? No matter if we partner with Japanese forces, Japanese, they haven't even had a military since the U.S. stripped them down, right? And now the U.S. wants to help them build their military back up so we can use their bases to launch as a spring point to China. Let me pull up the world map so I show you, so you guys really know what's going on here, and why this is completely ridiculous, right? Because if let me pull up, Google Maps, will that do it? All right, perfect. So let me zoom out here, right? So if we look at the world map, right, if we go all the way over to Asia, right, and go right over here, you're telling me you got Japan, you got the East China Sea, right? We got Taiwan right here. So these islands, the first island chain that I was talking to you guys about, they involve a lot of these guys right over here. So you got Japan, you got these islands over here in Japan, you got Taiwan, and then you got these islands over here in the Philippines, right? This allows, this little block right here allows for the US to basically dominate what comes in and out of this area right over here, right? So part of the reason why we have to go to war, because if China reunifies with Hong Kong peacefully and they're looking at Taiwan next and they're able to reunify peacefully with with Taiwan, well, guess what? This breaks the link in their first island chain, which allows for Chinese cruisers, not just cruisers, but submarines and battleships to cross unprotested through these the island chain, which puts us, if you're looking at defense analysts, right, in a pretty tough position. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and launch troops all the way over here to fight a war in a region that is thousands of miles away from where we're at. That's crazy to me. So if you guys aren't seeing how ridiculous, so when I ask the question, why do we need to be over here? Why do we need to be over here? Well, what is the point of us being over here, right? It don't make any sense, right? This is what I'm talking about. We are meddling in businesses that we have no idea doing. But if you guys were smart, you guys will understand that the reason why this is being done is because the U.S. global empire is officially falling apart. It's done. It's over with. A lot of countries now are rising up thanks to China and their Belt and Road initiative, right? As much as people would like to criticize the Belt and Road initiative, it's actually working for a lot of disenfranchised nations. It's working. It's building them up. It's giving them autonomy, right? Now it's an alternative to the International Monetary Fund, right? People can go in there and they get unrestricted loans from China, and they don't have to abide by these economy crushing rules that the IMF puts out there. And for those of you guys who don't know the IMF is called the International Monetary Fund. It's basically another U.S. entity, U.S. global entity, just like the World Health Organization and just like NATO and all these other European conglomerates, right? That's the exact same thing. So the IMF basically goes into other countries and gives them loans. But for you, and this is for poor countries, right? But in order for these poor countries to get these loans for the International Monetary Fund, they have to submit to the will of the United States empire. All right. And these wills are usually crushing for the people and the economy. And some of them aren't even able to afford some of the requirements that they're putting out. So they remain poor and broken down, right? So in comes China with the Belt and Road Initiative. And they're saying, hey, our rules aren't as crazy. Our rules aren't as harsh. You can get as much loans as possible. And we go from there. Now, China isn't completely innocent, because if you don't pay them loans back, well, guess what? They're jacking your infrastructure. Now, that's the whole point. Matter of fact, even some of these loans, they're not even meant to help people, because they flood those infrastructure deals and projects with Chinese contractors. I'm from Nigeria, all right? Nigeria is a country that's part of the whole Belt and Road Initiative. I'm going to tell you this. If a war were to break out in 2025, Nigeria is going to be fighting for China. That's how influential China has gotten under the Western noses, while we're over here meddling in other countries, right? China's coming in and they're saying, all right, let's swoop in and slide in. Let's do it. And that's what they're doing. So Nigeria right now has a bunch of these Chinese infrastructure loans. Unfortunately, our government is corrupt as hell. So a lot of our politicians pocket the money, right? So what's end up happening, a lot of these Chinese infrastructure projects are being taken over, but not only by Chinese, but a lot of their people who are working on it, which leaves the local regions poor still, right? And now we have a lot of this money flooding in, but no projects are getting done, which leaves us poorer. So don't get it twisted. Although this Belt and Road initiative are working for certain countries that are utilizing the money correctly, it's not working for all with highly corrupt regimes going on in the world. Okay. But that is a competitor to the IMF and the world order. Now, with the banning of Russia from the financial system, thanks to our glorious sanction deals and packages that the collective West has decided to put on Russia, right? We've completely booted them out of the system thinking it was going to crush them, but it didn't, right? Because their region and geography is so massive. Look at this, man. Let me go back to this map, right? If we go back to the map, look at this. Look at Russia from all the way from the west all the way to the east. Now a lot of people don't freaking live over here, right? But look at how massive this country is. Imagine the amount of resources that are just in this country alone. Now, if you could think about the resources in this country, you can understand why if the country is advanced enough, they can be self-sufficient. Just like the United States, we're on the verge of becoming fully self-sufficient, right? I mean, it's crazy because you can't tell because we've got our economy of manufacturing prowess because we gave it all to China, right? We let them have it. But Russia became self-sufficient. So when we're launching sanction packages at them, right, it's not hurting them because they're saying, all right, well, we'll just have our own version of McDonald's. We'll just have our own version of Popeyes. We'll just have our own version of X, Y, and Z, right? And this is the trap that the U.S. and the Westernized nations do, right? Because when you look at these big European, these big global clubs that are out there, right? IMF, the World Health Organization, NATO, all these different places, right? If you look at it, it's a big trap because they parade themselves as the coolest guys in the room, the cool kids club, and everybody wants to be a part of NATO because everybody wants to be a part of this. But what it is, it's a trap. The reason why it's a trap, because it's a trap for the United States to draw these countries into the westernized financial system. You understand this, right? And once these countries have been pulled into the westernized system, they're getting into that good westernized capitalist cash, right? They get hooked. And once they get hooked, all of a sudden now their policies have to change. Their borders have to open up, right? To basically reflect the other collective countries that are part of this group, right? This is how they strip you of your sovereignty. This is how they strip the country of their autonomy, right? Because now you're joining this big group. And this big group, you can't be an independent thinker because an independent thinker, well, that means you're a cancer. And by cancers, you got to go, right? So countries that are trapped into this union, the westernized union, well, guess what? If you want to unwind yourself, it's going to be that much difficult for you to do so, right? And if the U.S. were to want to levy sanctions against that country, it'd be effective because that country is effectively captured within the westernized global system. This is why those systems exist. The International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, all these global entities, right? There's a reason why they exist. They exist to create vassal states, more vassal states for the Western Empire. Okay, so Russia was fortunate enough to get entangled into the Western system, but not too entangled into the Western system to where the sanction packages are seriously hurting them, right? The financial part of it, yes, it did hurt them for a bit, and some of the trading aspects of it, right, it did hurt them for a while, but they're able to pretty much bounce back. The same thing we tried to do with China, right? After the fall of the Chinese communists and Mao and whatever the fuck was going on over there. Well, guess what? We decided, well, great. This is a great opportunity to get the Chinese into the westernized system, right? Let's go ahead and flood them with all these westernized cash, westernized support, all this stuff to try to draw that nation into our web. We want to ensnare them. And the Chinese, being that homogenous nation that they are, they understood the plan. They understood the mission. So they played us like a fiddle the same way Putin played us like a fiddle. Right? They said, all right, yeah. We'll play along. We'll join up with the system, right? Not really, because they had their hands crossed behind their backs. So as they were playing along with this Western system, they managed to convince our own elites to sell out their own manufacturing to China. And we made China pretty much the world manufacturers. That's who they are. They have literally cities in their country that are designed to make specific things. That's how efficient they've become. All right. So we did this thinking that the Chinese government was going to like wake up and accept Western ideas and come into the fold. But what ended up happening was a switcheroo. The Chinese government were like, did we say we're going to join this crap? Oh, no. We were just joking. And they did an about face and locked everything up. They said, thank you. Goodbye. And we were pissed. Why? because we just spent a bunch of westernized resources to build a country up, to bring them into the European fold so we can break them up and strip them of their sovereignty and take them over and dominate the world. But now they're posing a threat. And worse things worse, we've built them up to the point now they have a massive military with a shit ton of people that could pose a threat to the Western empire. They must be stopped. And if we don't do this by 2025, we're never going to get the opportunity to do so, because this island over here that we call Taiwan, even though we know it's part of the People's Republic of China, but we like to play these games to pretend that they're not part of the People's Republic of China. We want to cause problems here, because if they unify, that means Chinese subs are going to enter the Pacific Ocean, and that could possibly be a threat to the United States. That's crazy. That is crazy. Now, here's the crazy thing, right? Even crazier than that, right? All of a sudden, we're in 2023. We got 2 years now. The U.S. has to start doing provocative, start attempting provocative measures, right, to start getting this war going. We got to get this war going. So there's a couple things we got to do. We have to first get the American people on board. All right? We got to get the American populace on board, because no war is fought without the support of the American people. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to crank up that westernized propaganda army, baby. We got to crank it up. Look at these weather balloons. Holy shit. Do you see these weather balloons, guys? China is spying on us with these weather balloons. You have to be careful. Hey, wait a minute. This could be grounds for war, guys, right? So, and guys, these weather balloons isn't the first type of propaganda the westernized machine has been, lobbying towards us, okay? And the reason why I call it propaganda, because China doesn't want war. That's not what China wants. Matter of fact, I bought in to that westernized propaganda until I started researching, and I realized, wait a minute, China their military isn't even experienced to even fight some wars. Like, they're not even there yet. They have the technology, but their military isn't even battle tested. Second of all, it's in China's interest to do everything that they want to do peacefully. And they have all the time in the world to do that. So why would a country that has all the time in the world, that basically has been brain draining a lot of intellectual property from collective westernized countries to the point where they can almost be self-sufficient? At least now they have unlimited cheap fuel from Russia, so they can be nearly self-sufficient now, and they can fund the war, right? So why would these guys want to then blow up their economy just for these guys over here, right? And then you look at the papers, and then you realize, holy shit, even people in Taiwan understand that they're part of the mainland China. U.S., our foreign policy, we acknowledge and understand that Taiwan is part of mainland China. But the main reason is we can't let this happen, because if it does happen, our empire is over. We would be effectively blocked out of the Pacific Ocean, and these guys are allowed to have a sphere of dominance, right? And that's the one thing the United States fears the most. A country or a nation that has its own sphere of influence, similar to us, what we have here, right? This is the whole Monroe Doctrine, right? The whole Monroe Doctrine says no enemy ships, no enemy convoys or stations or installation will ever enter our hemisphere of control, right? China is setting all that up. Matter of fact, if you don't think Australia is going to be a part of that plan, you got another thing coming. Australia is going to join up with China at some point. If this war doesn't happen in 2025, Australia is going to join up with China at some point. Yeah, right now we got politicians sympathetic to the U.S., right? Because this is technically a vassal state right now, because the leader pretty much sucks up to the West, right? But what's going to end up happening is, you don't think China can play the same game too? They're going to play the same game, get the guy that they want in charge, and Australia and all these other countries here are going to draw ever close to China. We already got the biggest Goliath up here. As soon as they take Ukraine, they're gonna partner up with China and all these other countries, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, even India are gonna be sympathetic to the Eastern Bloc. Even though India and China got problems, they're not gonna want to fuck with the new resources that is being generated here. And if you guys don't know, it's called BRICS. Okay, it's the new financial economic resource hub that these westernized blocks are not westernized, I'm sorry, to counter the westernized blocks that these eastern blocks are setting up, right? So BRICS includes Brazil, it includes Russia, it includes China, and a couple of other countries too. Iran is involved in that too as well, right? So these countries are forming their own pretty much financial hub. So these US global Western entities, if they decide to lobby sanctions whatsoever, it's not going to work because there's another alternative now. And that's what really scares us, right? And what is it? It's not just that. A lot of other countries are going to be falling in. Saudi Arabia right now, that's part of OPEC, right? OPEC, a big conglomerate of nations, big oil producing nations. The biggest one, Saudi Arabia, who we thought was an ally, all of a sudden they're making visits to China. They're not even condemning Russia. You understand? Because MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, right, or Salmon, whatever you want to call him, right? He understands the future here. Think about it. If you are the largest oil producer on this earth, not just producer, but exporter, right? And you realize that your biggest partner, the United States, their monetary system is fucking up right now. They got $30 trillion worth of debt. And on top of that, all they're doing is trading their debt for oil. If you guys don't believe me, your US dollar is debt. Okay? It's not money, it's debt. If you don't believe me, look on your dollar. All right? It'll tell you this note is a legal tender for all debts, public and private. You don't believe me? Pull out a dollar bill from your pocket right now and read that same statement. It'll let you know. Even the government's telling you this dollar you have right now that you're holding in your hands is actually owed to somebody else. So it's going to leave your pockets and it's going to be owed to somebody else because it's not dollar, it's a debt. Okay. And that's what the US is doing. So as Saudi Arabia is giving them oil, we're sending them dollars and they're using that same dollars to buy treasury bonds, which is debt. Right? China was doing that, but China now is offloading a lot of those treasury bonds that they're doing, which is hurting us, right? But Saudi Arabia, they're saying, well, listen, US, you guys have been the big dogs for a long time, but listen, bro, we're gonna figure out what's going over here with these brick situation because we like to diversify. Okay, we want to diversify our interests. Okay, it's nice, it's nice getting the dollar bills and whatnot. But if Russia and China are buying up all this gold right now and they're planning on doing a gold backed currency, well, I want to sell my oil to that, and that's what any logical business person would do. Right, so the U.S. is pissed at Saudi Arabia right now because they're kind of sympathetic, to the Chinese and Russian cause, and it's breaking apart the global dominance we have out here. All right, and look at these European states, right? Even Sweden, they can't join NATO right now because Turkey is blocking them right now. But all these countries over here, none of them are independent anymore. These are all not Belarus, Poland especially, right? These are all captured territories of the United States. Don't get it twisted. These guys, I'm sorry, my European friends, if you're watching this, you're living in a vassal state. Okay, your leaders are puppets for the U.S. government. Oh, that sounds horrible. Shit, that sounds terrible to say, but it's true. It's true. Just look it up. Just look at it, bro. Like you guys can't even take care of your own interests. Your economy is in the shitter because we did that. Germany, hold up. I gotta talk to you, Germany. I gotta holler at you for a second. Germany, because Germany, you cut off Well, not well, they didn't really cut it off, but United States did it. But the Nord Stream pipelines, y'all fucked up and did that. Like, why? Like, none of this shit makes any sense, right? Because why would Germany give up on cheap gas for its own people to pay for expensive liquefied natural gas from United States? Like, why would they do that? Why, if I was a country, if I want to do good by my people, I'd want to save money by buying cheap oil. Well, you can't do that if your leader is a puppet, right? So your leader, who's a puppet, would say, yes, I don't want cheap gas for my people. No, I want the expensive gas from United States. The same guys that destroyed my relationship with the cheap gas guys. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that, right? And now, you know, they're gonna dominate Ukraine. So a lot of the pipelines that flow from Ukraine into these European countries, they're gonna own it now. You see, the same kind of cascading fuck ups we decided to do because we're all vassal states of our daddy, United States. That's what's happening, right? So it's crazy to me. So we look at what's another one right now that's going on. Let's pay attention to Romania right now because Romania and their government, they've been making a lot of noise, right? So Romania, you know, they're talking a lot of shit about, you know, they're what is it, the prime minister? You know, they want to send more. I don't know if it was tanks because we don't know now if the tanks are coming. The tanks may not be coming, people, but they're talking. Leaders talking about, you know, going further with Russia, you know, things like that. And although you look at the geography, right, you can understand where they're coming from because Ukraine, which is currently at war, is borderline Romania right now, right? So they don't know if Russia has ambitions to run roughshots over Ukraine, and then, you know, maybe Moldova might come out and they might take over Moldova, but, you know, and that's where a lot of these propagandas have wrong because I don't believe, and I may be wrong, right? Russia is definitely going to take over Ukraine, all of it. I'd be surprised if they don't take all of Ukraine. Matter of fact, it'd be a stupid thing that for Putin to not take all of Ukraine, right? But is he then going to go from Ukraine to Moldova to Romania to Poland and Chechnya and Slovakia and Hungary? Is that what's going to happen? No, because although the Russian military is powerful, it's not that powerful to start, you know, doing a world European domination. And why would you even want the rest of Europe right now? They're broke. they don't have energy right now. There's a lot of problems. You know, Olaf Scholz of Germany is leading these people into disaster. So why would anybody want to be, you know, to take over, you know, the rest of collective Europe, right? A lot of people, the European leaders, not the people, but the European leaders are idiots. They're all stupid. Okay, we're just gonna put it as 100%. They're all stupid, and it just tells you what you need to know. Okay, there's no real new leadership. There's no real statement to come out there and say, "Hey guys, what we're doing, it needs to stop. We either need to negotiate a peace deal right now. Otherwise, if we don't settle this, and our big daddies are planning on going over to the Pacific and fighting these guys, we might have an issue here." You might, if we decide to go after China in 2025, you might actually be witnessing the total end of the United States empire. And with that, I'm gonna end this, not end the live stream, but we'll move over to the comments because I know I've been talking, but I haven't seen the chat yet. So we'll answer some questions. You guys got questions in the chat, throw them up here. So let's have a conversation for the next about 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll finish up the live stream here. All right. But that pretty much concludes what I got going on. And as more updates come out, I promise I'll try to get more out with this channel because I do love talking about this, right? And it is, I'm not a war expert. I'm not a person that talks. I just read a lot, and then, you know, I have my own opinions of what's going on in the world. So some of these situations I may be wrong on, right? I may not be 100% correct, but if you look at the big picture, it starts to kind of make sense to see where the world is moving to, right? Why would a four-star Air Force general talk about a possible war in 2025? Why did Nancy Pelosi go visit Taiwan? Like, what the fuck was the point of her visiting that country, or not country? My bad. I'm sorry, China. That region of the People's Republic of China, right? What was the whole fucking point, right? And these weather balloons. What is the point of these weather balloons, right? Is this what's gonna be the trigger? No. Here's the thing. First of all, China. You want to know why this weather balloon thing is a propaganda? Oh, the spy weather balloons, whatever it is. My guess is chances are it probably was a weather balloon that got drifted off course. I mean, let's pull the map up one more time, right? If we look at the map, all right, look how, if you look at the Pacific Ocean, I mean, you can see how something can drift over the Pacific Ocean into our region, right? What was it? Was it in Montana? Where did they find that? Where did they find that balloon? I thought it was Montana or some shit, right? But you can see where that can how that can happen. And on top of that, why would the Chinese use a spy balloon when they have spy satellites just like we do? Has that ever came across to y'all? This is where you have to separate the propaganda. Why do they need a spy balloon when they also have their own spy satellites? The Chinese capability is on par with US capabilities. So, I mean, minus them being battle tested, right? In physical battle or combat. But technology wise, they're on par because they just rip off our shit and reverse engineer it. They even have their own space station and everything put together. So if they have their own space station, if they have their own spy satellites and their own infrastructure built up, and their own spy network working within the US, why the hell would they just rely on a simple weather balloon, right? And the thing is, it may be a spy balloon. It might as well be. I don't know. I'm not an expert on war balloons or weather balloons or whatever it is, right? I'm just saying if they have satellites that can clearly spy on the US if they wanted to, right? Why would they just care about a balloon, or less we're purposely making the balloon a bigger deal than it actually is, right? And we're doing it on purpose, right? And the propaganda, mind you, has started way before that. And China has been doing this too, to a certain extent, right? Think about some of these Hollywood movies, right? That's how China is able to have control of our media, right? You can't say shit about China, or the NBA can't get their viewership to play to watch or for Chinese viewership to watch the NBA and some of these movies, right? So the Chinese have already captured a lot of our industries, right? Without even firing one bullet. Okay. Some of our politicians, they've captured them without firing a single bullet. So it makes you think, if the Chinese are able to accomplish all of this in a peaceful kind of manner, who's really pushing for war? So for you young men who may find yourself drafted into some tiny little island, right? Ready to fight people that you don't even know, and you're wondering why that's a thing, just understand that it's your government that is sending you to die. That's the whole point of this whole thing. When the rich wage war, is the poor who dies all the time. What's good, chat? How you doing? Jared, welcome to the stream. Antonio, Emeka, Darren, welcome. What's up, guys? JD in reality. What that's not what that means. What does that mean? Let me know. Let's look. Finance man, welcome. What are we talking about here? Let's talk. If you guys got a question in the chat too, let's talk about it. I'm gonna go through see what I missed. Altair, welcome to the stream, says the only war that might happen in 2025 is the tech war that has been brewing between inventors, greedy corpos, stamping out innovation. Everything else is no. Russia is about to stomp, and China is dead. I disagree with that statement. And there's a couple of reasons why I disagree with that statement. Because although you're right, the tech war is going to be a thing. It's always been a thing, right? Not just tech. And I mean, this is what they're calling a hybrid war, where we have the media as well, right? The Chinese have captured our media, at least part of it, right? Not the ones the military industrial complex owns, but like kind of like Hollywood media. All right, the Chinese have captured that. So if you want to talk about war, you got it, right? If you want to talk about war in the cyberspace, Chinese are already on top of that. The Chinese, Israelis, Iranians, Russians, they're all in on that, all right? So we're all in that network. But what we're talking about here is a hot war, okay? A war that's designed to weaken the economic output of the Chinese party and to weaken, or at least the resources and at least the people, demoralize the people enough to turn against Xi Jinping, right? That's the whole point. Because don't get it twisted. Our plan for Ukraine is still the same plan for Russia, not Russia, for China, right? Our plan for Ukraine was to use Ukraine as a springboard to weaken Russia, right? We arm them with over 700,000 Ukrainians. We arm them with NATO weapons. They go into Russia, and with Russia, because we thought, here's the thing, and this is the kind of common misconception a lot of Westerners make, right? We thought Russia was weak, in any kind of military confrontation would not only weaken the economy further because we're going to levy sanctions on top of that, but it's going to get the people motivated up in arms to go after Putin and decapitate him at the head, right? That's the same thing we're hoping to do right over here with our friend Taiwan, all right? We're using them as a staging point. We're building up their military. We're going to do joint exercises. We're going to station anti-air was it air defense units here, right? We're going to station all these tanks. We're going to station we already have troops on some of these islands, right? We got people stationed in Okinawa. We got people stationed all over the place. U.S. military. So it's right down here. All right, so we can use any one of these islands as launching point. We got I know Marines who are serving time. I said serving time, but doing time right now in Okinawa, right? So we got air bases here that are perfect launching pads into the Taiwanese airspace to support what's going on over here, right? Because we want to use Taiwan as a vessel to weaken the Chinese people, because we're under the misconception that the Chinese Communist Party's economy is on the verge of collapse. Their people are on the verge of rising up and taking out Xi Jinping. We just need a catalyst to do so, and Taiwan as the bait, right? You may see that and say, hey, it may work for us, or we may get the exact same bullshit we're seeing right now in Ukraine. And we're not going to do anything else but make the Chinese Communist Party stronger. And a lot of people are going to die, including Americans. So I don't think it's just going to be an inventor war or whatever it is. It's none of that. China already wins that. Their capabilities to steal intellectual property it's out of this world. Okay. But we need to figure out a way to weaken their economy, and that's what the war is meant to do. So it's not just going to be, because the cyber war is going on right now. That's what's going on right now, is the cyber war. But we need a hot war too. That's just what it is, and that's what the general is talking about. There are probably plans already drawn up for it, right? Most people didn't believe that Ukraine was going to be it. Everyone, people were coming out and saying, hey, why are we arming Ukraine? Oh no, we're not doing that. We're just helping the people out, right? Hey, y'all better not use this as a spring point to attack Russia. No, we're not gonna do that. What ended up happening? We did the exact same thing. We used Ukraine as a spring point to attack Russia, and look how it's working now for them. They're gonna get bodied, bro. That's the future of Ukraine. They're gonna get bodied. They're done. They're done as a nation, and I would be surprised if Zelensky is not dead by Christmas. That sounds horrible to say, but it's the truth. I'd be surprised if President Zelensky of Ukraine is not dead by Christmas. They're gonna come after that dude, bro. Like this is what happens when you play that power game. When you play that power game, this is what happens. Yeah, sometimes it just might be your life. That's just what it is. Altair says we need to be more concerned about the war in America rather than China, Russia, or elsewhere. The war in America is going to be manufactured. You got to understand that it's already manufactured right now. If people think that the Democrats and Republicans are two opposite factions, you have been brainwashed. There is no opposite faction. It's just one party. That's what you don't understand. We're already a one-party state. You guys don't get this. Wake up. Democrats and Republicans are the same thing. Matter of fact, they came together over Ukraine. This war in Ukraine made both Democrats and Republicans rich. They launder so much money through these fucking packages, these weapons packages, billions of dollars. Ask yourself, where did most of those billions go? Because if you talk to Ukrainians on the ground, they're still struggling to get equipment. So where's all this money going? Who's signing off on this? And you look at the paperwork, both Democrats and Republicans are doing this nonsense. They're signing on to these packages, and the money is going vamoose. But then some of these guys are coming out millionaires. Explain how this happens. We have a one-party state in the United States government. Don't get it twisted. That's the biggest lie everyone has been sold. The civil war that's being brewed here between left and right is manufactured. We need that to happen. We can't have people waking up. We need them distracted. So send in Antifa, send in QAnon, send in all these guys. Let's get all these guys trumping at the bits in the Kool-Aid. But then when we need them to settle down because we have a real war to go in, we gotta set things up with China right off the bat. And there's nothing that's gonna bring unity more than an outside threat. So when people think there's going to be a civil war in America, you got to understand Americans right now, especially a lot of older Americans, they're more susceptible to the propaganda than they would like to believe. It sounds horrible, but it's true. A lot of Westerners buy into the propaganda. So by buying into the propaganda, a lot of them, Americans right now, both left and right, you're part of the one party state. Hard truth. But this is what I wish most of these red pill guys would talk about. Right? When we talk about Andrew Tate's situation right now, let's go to Romania. Let's go to Romania on the map right now, right? If we go to Andrew Tate's situation, he's locked up in Romania right now. They keep extending his stay 30 days, more and more every single time it comes through, right? Why? They're looking for evidence. I'm still doing the research on that. I still haven't seen anything major or new. So we don't know if they're releasing whatever. We're still waiting. But if they don't release something soon, things are gonna get crazy. And especially if they extend his stay without doing that. Why? Because Andrew Tate commanded the biggest demographic of military aged males in not only America, but the collective Western countries, right? And Romania, he has a lot of influence there too, as well. Well, Romania borders Ukraine, right? There's Kiev right there. And Russia pretty much has a lot of this part right over here, and they're going to be pushing westward. And Romania borders that. So if at any point in time Romania needs to call up a group of young men to come up and line up this borders, because a lot of these European countries right now, they're going to, after this Ukrainian war, they're going to enter a phase of massive military buildups. A lot of these countries, Poland is already halfway there. Germany is going to start. They already put, what is it, another $30 billion to their defense budget. France is doing it, right? Finland's always been doing it. Sweden is going to start doing some stuff, right? So a lot of these Ukrainian countries, there's going to be a massive buildup of arms after this war, right? Because everyone's going to have this hysteria running around in their heads, right? Romania is going to want to do that because it's going to be part of that situation, right? So if you're a Romanian leader and you got this Andrew Tate guy telling your military age demographic that you need to recruit from to not trust you as a government entity, well, what are you going to do? You're going to lock them up. Get rid of all the opposition right now before you start getting people marching into war. So when people talk about, and I don't like, if you go to my other channel, it's not that I don't like Andrew Tate. I'm indifferent to Andrew Tate. Because a lot of people think just because you talk about a content creator, you're hating on them. No one cares about these people. They're small fries in the big scheme of things. Look at Andrew Tate, for example. He's got all these millions, all this Bugatti, and still can't buy his way out of a Romanian prison. That goes to show you all this power these guys talk about having, it's fake power. You want to talk about real power? Real power lies with the state. If you control the state, you control everything. And that's what these some of these dumb manosphere red pill guys don't understand. That's why when they talk about money, money can be taken away like that. Wealth gone. You don't get it. This right here, the power center of Romania, the government, that's real power. And you want to know what else real power is? The power center of Hungary, the power center of Germany, the power center of Poland. I don't care how rich of an oligarch you are. I don't give a fuck how many Bugattis if you are. Some broke guy who's some war foreign minister can take all that shit away from you. Like that. Like they did with Andrew Tate. So that's why I'm a little bit more sympathetic to his cause, because I'm seeing a man who garners a large demographic of military age male that these governments want to recruit from. And if he's telling them not to trust the government, well, guess what? Well, we gotta lock him up somehow. Well, where's the evidence? I don't know. We're gonna lock him up for another 30 days so we can look for more evidence. 30 days come by. Another 30 days. We gotta look for more evidence. How much evidence are you looking for? Just admit that you locked the guy up because he's locking up your recruitment pool. And to be fair, that's a far-fetched statement to make. I'm just saying, if we're, because this is a conspiracy channel, all right? So we're a conspiracy channel. I'm just saying, when things don't add up, I start subtracting. Okay, that's just how I live my life. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, so maybe he is guilty for the section trafficking. All right, because he did self snitch a lot on some of his YouTube videos. All right, let's just be real. But you can't deny the fact on the ground. Okay, after this war in Ukraine and Ukraine gets dominated by Russia, a lot of these Eastern and not Eastern, Western countries are going to go through a military buildup. And once they build up the military, they're going to be anticipating whatever Russia's going to do next. But what they don't realize is the next trigger point is actually going to be right over here. That's just basically what it is. So Altair, it's not a civil war because United States is a one-party state. Democrats, Republicans are the exact same thing, the exact same people. All right, so that's just what it is. JD in reality says they get hooked by our entertainment, which is food, which makes our propaganda drug more palatable, like putting a dog's medicine in a dog treat. That's the best way to put it. That is a bad. You can't even say anything more than that. That is, yeah, yeah. Why do you think in most westernized countries everyone views their life like it's a fucking movie, right? Like why? Why do you think that is? Because that's how powerful the Western Hollywood and all this stuff. This is how powerful it is. You don't think the CIA owns companies that are investing in certain Hollywood movies? You don't believe that? It's all over the place, man. This is how they capture the media. Because once you capture the media, you capture the people. And once you've captured the people, all you got to do is make the education system not up to par, so they're not capable of researching. They're not capable of thinking for themselves. They're only capable of doing what is necessary to add to the empire. That's it. And we see that happening all across the world. So it's all done through the media. To combat this, because you can't escape westernized media. You can't. There's no escaping it. All right. This has been years in the making. You can't just get away from it. But the way you can't counteract that is opening yourself up to other media sources. Independent media like YouTube is another great way to go. But unfortunately, our YouTube channels that they paired the line. All right. So it is what it is. Finance Man says Asians are smart and won't fall for it. Nope, they won't. Right? Because that we tried to bring them into our economic system, and they played us. They played us. They played us for suckers, baby. We thought we can get access to their economic system because they were weak in China at the time after the Mao regime collapsed. Right? They were weak in China. Right? Where we thought we can just come in, infuse them with some westernized cash, and everything will be okay. They'll join the system, and then there'll be another vassal state of the U.S. empire. But that didn't work because they knew what was going on. So they locked everything down and they kicked us out. Same thing when they tried to do with Russia, right? A weakened Russia. After Putin came in, we thought Putin was going to be our guy, our corrupt leader to Russia that's going to help us pillage and take all the resources. Well, guess what? Putin turned out to be an actual leader and care about his own people than being a vassal state for the United States empire. So it's crazy, man. Antonio says China has colonized most of the Southeast Asia, Australia too. Yep. I'm glad somebody else sees that. Australia is in. You give China that time. You give China that amount of time, and they have all the time in the world. This is why the U.S. has to go to war by 2025 because they see their grip loosening, right? You give it time. Australia, their economy got caught red-handed. After this whole Ukraine thing broke out, their economy, Ukraine and COVID really exposed Australia for what they were. It really exposed them, right? But then the war in Ukraine further exposed them, exposed how deep their ties were to not only China, but Russia. And now they're paying for it. So if you don't believe that if given enough time, China's going to influence a Western country like Australia, you're mistaken because they will. The only country they'll have a hard time with is India, right? But here's the problem. Sri Lanka got some issues right now. Okay? Sri Lanka, their government collapsed. And guess who is in town to sweep up the pieces? China. And China and India, they have border disputes. They're constantly fighting each other over border disputes, right? So if they're doing that over here and China's throwing their money at Sri Lanka, listen, bro, if you want to talk about influence all over the place, they got it. And India right now is between a rock and a hard place because their allies are with the West, but they also know that strategically, if you got big boy neighbors next to you, you almost and they look like they're on the same team. You almost kind of want to be sympathetic to that to not risk being invaded because what the Ukraine war is teaching a lot of European countries or countries that are allied with NATO. What it's teaching them is the response in what the U.S. is doing to Ukraine and lack thereof, because we're struggling to even get tanks out there. They're struggling to even get anything out there to defend this country, right? A lot of these other NATO allied countries are going to see that and they're going to say, well, if the United States can't even protect Ukraine, what makes you think they can protect India? What makes you think they can protect Taiwan? What makes you think they can protect Taiwan? What makes you think they can protect anyone? Or is it just talk? Are we just talking? Are we just riding off the highs of the people that did the real work back in World War II? You sure do say it on a $10 bill. Every dollar bill says it. This note is a legal tender, all debts public and private. I used to work in finance for a little bit, so trust me, I touched a lot of money. And I'm telling you right now, it's debt. It's not real. None of it. Your dollar bill is not a real cash. It's not real. It's every dollar in your pocket is owed to somebody else. That's how money works. Okay. And the more they print, the more it just vanishes. And the longer it sits in your savings account, because nobody's savings account is outpacing inflation right now. All right. And this Ukrainian war, massive inflation. So you're being robbed right now, and you don't even know it. I'm gonna try to get him on. What I'm gonna try to do is because I don't want him to get him on, because it seems like Coach Red Pill wants to get away from the whole manosphere thing, right? So, which is fine because he goes by Gonzalo now. It's only Gonzalo, right? But I'm gonna build up this channel. And I'm gonna try to build up this channel as best I can, and then if we get to that point, we could start inviting a bunch of people, because there is a lot to follow with this war stuff going on. So yeah, definitely. If we can get, that's why we got to get the likes up. All right, we built this channel up. We can get to that point where we're having these big conversations. But it'll be excited to have one, because, like, I got some questions for Coach Red Pill. I'm not 100%. With him, because I think he can be a prima donna sometimes, but a lot of the things he says are factual. Okay, so he may be crazy, but he's got some good stuff going on up there, and it'd be interesting to pick his brain. And there are a couple of other YouTubers that I would love to pick their brains too and just talk to. It'd be awesome to talk to him. Darren the Great says, "What is the point of getting a good job before you can't even enjoy it before all hell breaks loose?" That's the whole trick. Believe it or not, a lot of good jobs are going to be falling apart. The tech industry is falling apart right now, right? A lot of these big tech conglomerates, Google, Facebook especially, or Meta, right? They're falling apart right now. Why? It's because they made a bunch of risky investments when times were good. We're in a recession right now, and I've been saying this, right? When the tides are in, you can't tell who's swimming naked until the water subsides. That's when you know, because when you're covered up with water, everyone is doing fine. Everybody's floating. Everybody's doing their thing, right? But when you take that tide away, a bunch of people are swimming naked. And that's what happened with a bunch of tech companies, right? Google, they're downsizing massively. Facebook is downsizing massively. Uber, all these major tech companies are downsizing massively, right? So what is going to happen to a lot of these computer science students that are graduating? Where are they going to go, right? All these other students that are coming onto the main role, what are they going to do? It's going to be a tough scenario they're going to face, where even jobs are going to be a scarcity. Well, there's going to be one major employer that's going to be looking to hand out checks, and that's not going to be anything in the tech industry. It's going to be United States military. That's just how it is. But yeah, you're right. It's the same thing with 2008, right? The question you're asking now is the same question in 2008. A lot of people graduated in 2008, didn't realize the economy was going to go crazy and fall on them. A lot of people made horrible investments and they lost everything, right? They didn't know that was the world they were going to walk into, but eventually that's what it is. There weren't good paying jobs because everybody was downsizing around that time. No, everyone was scared of the economy. No one knew where it was going to go. And here, years later, we're faced with the exact same scenario. We have a war brewing in the East. We got the economy frying up, because we're in so much fucking debt. We got industries shutting down because a lot of the risky investments they made. It's gonna be a tough time for a lot of people. What is the point? So you got to ask yourself that question. What is the point? Well, the point is, we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention to our leaders, our people who are running this country, because that's what it is. We allowed ourselves to get duped by the games and the honey, right? What was there was a thing that the Roman emperor did when he knew that the empire was going to collapse, right? When the people would rise up, they send them over to the Colosseum, right? hey, go root for your favorite sports team or whatever the hell. All right, don't pay attention to us basically overprinting money, and that's what they did. They overprinted their money, and they diluted the actual value of it because they used to have real gold in some of their coins, and over time, right, people were stripping the golds and replacing them with alloys, and then eventually the money became worthless. But while all this stuff was happening, and due to the endless Roman expansion that they were doing, because they need to fund the expansion. They just fund all these military expansion, all this conquering and occupation they had all around the region at the time, right? And when the people were running out of food, when inflation was going crazy and they were going to rise up against the government, well, guess what? The emperor was smart. He gave them all bread and honey and sent them all to the Colosseum. So while they're sitting there laughing, looking all the gladiators, right? The artists, the music influencers, right? They're dancing and they're parading and they're saying, look over here, right? Don't pay attention to what's going on everywhere else. Look at me. Look at this lovable jester. I'm here to distract you, right? Why do you think most of Westerners, right? They get so sucked into their favorite sports team. They get sucked into all these worldly pleasures that are nothing but distractions. They're only meant to obscure you from looking at what's really going on in the world. Your empire is falling apart. That's what it is. And all the signs that are breaking out right now only reflects that. Our inflation that is going crazy, right? The insane debt situation that we're in, the endless expansion of our military, expansion and occupation. We're funding all that with debt, no different than what the Romans did. And while most people are awake and we're feeling the pain pressures of this situation, what does the government do? Go watch the Super Bowl. Look at LeBron. Look at him. Watch him dunk. You see him dunk? Whoa, that's crazy, right? look at Brett Favre. Or not Brett Favre. What's Aaron Rodgers, right? Tom Brady. Look at those guys throw football, all right? Go buy yourself a hot dog. Don't pay attention to what's happening here. The same thing, all right? So it don't matter what era of history we're in. The exact same thing is the same, all right? With the fall of an empire, we get spoon-fed bullshit until it fully collapses, right? And once it fully collapses, it's going to take everybody by surprise. And we're going to say, well, what the hell happened? Well, we've been fucking up since day one and no one said anything. Jared, what's good, brother? No, red pill is for losers. And realistically, I think a lot that's why, like, you know, a lot of this manosphere stuff, man, it's a shadow of what I thought it was going to be, right? And my initial thing, right, because I'm thinking the manosphere, we're going to put these top content creators will put funds together that are really going to combat the government, right? The MGTOWs are going to put things together to lobby the government to go ahead and get situations done for men, right? But what it ended up turning into was just one big sus fest where a lot of these guys were either unloading a lot of their angry, unjustified agendas or using it as a way to make a bunch of money off of the backs of people who are actually suffering. A bunch of young men who don't really know they're going to be unknowingly sent to their deaths within the next couple of years. That's what these guys are doing, and it's unfortunate. They haven't done anything to help any kind of guy whatsoever. And the boys who are sitting there talking about these content creators changed my life, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They got sucked up into the fervor where everyone is clapping. It's like going to a Tony Robbins seminar, right? If you go to a Tony Robbins seminar, everybody's pumped up. He knows how to get you pumped up, right? He's getting you filled with energy. It's almost like, you know those preacher sermons where the woman comes up and the preacher lays his hands on the woman and she's acting crazy and she falls over and whatever the hell, right? In those churches, it's no different at a Tony Robbins seminar. You go to a Tony Robbins seminar, everybody's clapping, everyone's feeling that motivation, everybody's feeling good. And if you talk to them, they would arguably say, yeah, I learned something from there. I gained a few things, right? Not realizing that after they leave, unless they actually apply a lot of that work, which most of them don't, their life isn't going to change. They just felt good for that brief moment they were at the seminar. It's no different than what a lot of these red pill guys do, these manosphere guys do. These viewers come in and they sit there and they get sucked up in the word, the good word. They get filled with all that motivation. They're feeding off the chat and everything's going good. But when they have to face the real world, their life still sucks. So what do? They come back on YouTube. Listen to the same bullshit, right? So they've convinced themselves that these losers online actually have what it takes to help them, and they're not helping them. They're just siphoning money from these poor saps, and these guys are none the wiser. So when they return to their regular life, it's boring compared to the bullshit they've cultivated online, the community they've built. They're surrounded by of like-minded people who just guzzle down the same echo chamber. That's what it is. So I'm glad some people are seeing it, but we got to fight. That's why we got to call some of these guys out on the other channel, right? People think that you're doing it just because you're doing it. No, you're doing it for a main reason. The government right now is in a position where they're keeping everybody quiet with milk, honey, and a coliseum. Oh, and the honey, guess what that is? OnlyFans. Yeah, OnlyFans is the biggest thing right now out there for a lot of young, frustrated men who don't know how to deal with women in a social way. They're paying for girlfriends on OnlyFans. That's honey. All right. So you want to know how the Chinese keeps their young men distracted? They keep them distracted with educational things, right? Their TikTok, even their algorithm on TikTok is different than the algorithm we see. The algorithm we see are sexy girls, right? People doing stupid, ignorant things, right? And then we have OnlyFans. If you guys don't realize how big OnlyFans is, that should tell you that this is the harbinger of the death of a nation. That's what OnlyFans is. And the fact that it's been mass adopted by westernized countries, it's crazy. But those are things that the westernized governments are using to pacify these frustrated men. So they'll let it happen. They'll let it slide right on the rock. I mean, there's a lot of things. Listen, bread and honey, man, and the Coliseum. That's all it is. Coach Webb, but yeah, he's living in Kherson right now. He's leading in Kherson. So I don't blame him. Like a lot of these manosphere guys, when they talk about women, it's such a fucking joke. They're so weird. It's like, why talk about women? They're so boring, dude. Like, nothing. Shout out to the ladies watching this. If you guys are watching, I would much rather talk about real world shit than sit there talking about women and psychoanalyze women and why I can't get dates and whatever the hell, right? Realistically, this is stuff that you solve in high school, right? And if you can't solve it in high school, there are people out there you can talk to, but unfortunately, people can't find those people, and it sucks. But no one wants to be talking about women all day. That's crazy. Oh yeah, I know. I know. I know. I'm going in. I'm 28, bro. Listen. I'm young enough and I'm fit enough to go. All right. And the thing is, although I'm against war, if they call me out, I'll go. Like, I got no qualms about it, bro. Like, I'm not gonna complain. I'm not gonna scream and whine and whatever. I'd protest, right, my own way, but I'm still going to war. I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What can you do? Right? I could pull a trump card and break my foot, and try not to. But what's the point, man? I got family here, I got friends here, and if we gotta go, we gotta go. It is what it is, right? I don't know. It depends on I don't know what branch I'd join though. I don't know. Definitely not Army. Definitely not Air Force. I've always thought about either the Marine Corps, or the Navy, right? And not for what you think of the Navy. The Navy has their own Air Force program that would be dope as fuck to be a part of. But yeah, man. Yeah, he's probably getting that butt pegged right now. It sucks, man. And he's crying. Dude's talking about they got roaches in my cell and all that. Is like, listen, man, that's what I'm talking. When you talk about power, a lot of these red pill guys that talk about power, Andrew Tate, he understands power as far as when it comes to money and being able to buy people off. But there's a real power, right? Real power where you can influence militaries, heads of militaries. Once you captured the head of a military to do your bidding, that's real power. Anything else is right? Andrew Tate doesn't have militaries. He doesn't have an army. He doesn't have shit. All right. Governments are governed and ran by how big the army is, right? And you have to have the army on your side. Every nation that's out there always pays their armies. They always pay their generals. You have to. All right, because your general is an entity that leads your army, and if your army somehow is against you, you no longer have a nation. That's how that shit works. Andrew Tate doesn't command an army; he works within the system. That was so dumb about what the whole movement that everyone supported him on was. That was so dumb. It's because like everyone's thinking he's some kind of like, god and like top boss, and like, no, bro, he works within the system. And guess what? The system giveth and it can taketh away, just like they did with him. And he went from having 12 cars, multiple Bugattis, and now he's in a fucking jail cell complaining about roaches. That's power. So a lot of these young men, if they were paying attention, they'd realize what's really going on here. It's, it says dancers, jesters, musicians, sports teams back in Rome were the prom feminism monkey chimps of OnlyFans today. Yep. Y'all can see the signs. Y'all can see the signs, right? And some of these red pill guys, they would much rather complain about these OnlyFans women than to look at the situation for what it actually is. It's not the women. You're sitting there blaming the women. What is the main goal of this thing being a thing? Why don't we have a government striking this shit down and saying, no, we can't have our society built on this crap? Russia, they can do it. China, they lock their internet down, right? They police what they say. You can't do that. You can't do this, right? So why don't we have a nation that does that? Why? Because we understand that we have a incel problem. Okay, we have a bunch of young men that haven't been raised right. And there's no one out there to teach them how to be raised right. And they're going to be frustrated because we've neutered the parents. Okay. We've taken the responsibility of parents to do parenting. And now we're in charge of the kids. Us, the state, right? And we need a way to keep these kids, these young men pacified. Oh, OnlyFans. Oh, wow. It just fell right in our laps. Yeah, let's promote the hell out of this stuff. Yeah, if it gets all these young men, attention funneled a certain way, so forth. Sports teams, perfect. Let's just leave it there. If it keeps these guys occupied away from our business, all the more power. Oh, by the way, the CEO of OnlyFans, if the government really wants to, they can yank his shit too. But he's allowed to stay on because he's serving a purpose. These artists, entertainers, they all serve a purpose to distract you from the decline of the empire. Y'all remember celebrities back in the day, way back in the day, they used to be, first of all, some of them didn't even get involved in politics issues, but the ones that did get involved in politics, their takes were usually based and rational. But now you see some of the political takes of some of these artists and some of these entertainers, it's almost towing the propagandist westernized line. Yeah, yep. The West is good. Everyone else is bad. Okay, buy your head. That's how it works. It's crazy. Yeah, they're all just dancing monkeys. They're all dancing monkeys of the U.S. empire. Yeah, Tony Robbins, bro. Hell yeah. Tony Robbins knows how to get the buzz going, bro. Everybody's clapping, they're feeling that feel good nonsense, but then they go home, their life still sucks. Nothing's changed. Same thing. We're all just dancing monkeys. Let's see, let me get all caught up here. All right, looks like I am all caught up, guys. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever. Let me know. I'll try to stream kind of once a week on this channel too, like I'm doing my other channel. I freed up enough time in my life to be able to kind of do this on Sundays too as well. So I'm really excited so I can do more of this so we can keep up with what's going on in the world. All right. Because if you guys don't know, I don't talk about it on my other channel, but I am working on a couple projects. And one of them is another application that I'm building right now. It's a ton of fucking work. But what it's designed, it's basically a marketplace application for the automotive industry. So it's a big jam-packed application. I'm using Ionic as my framework to build out the application and components and things like that. So obviously there's a lot of TypeScript involved, and you got to know a little bit of Java too as well, and HTML. So there's a lot of this stuff involved in it. I'm almost done with the project. I just got to get finish up my front end piece with it. So as soon as that's done, your boys were able to wrap it up, and then we can figure out if we can run it or sell it. You know what I'm saying? Because your boy, your boy got to figure out how to get paid out here. You know what I'm saying? So we just working hard, me and my team, and that's what we do. And it's in addition to my actual work. So you can see I have like a lot of shit on my fucking plate, which is insane. But I try to be in contact with you guys. I try to get my streams out when I can. That's just what it is. But I'm glad to be finally doing this on this channel again, and definitely next week after the main show on the other channel, we're gonna get it cracking with another political conversation on this channel. Oh, Vega's in here. What's good, girl? Vega, what's up? How you doing? What are you talking about? Oh, you guys talking about simping and shit. Yeah. No, there's a lot of simps. They're not going away. They're not going away. Simp is part of the new economy. And realistically, a lot of those incels, they're going to be the main ones going to war. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's going to be some government propaganda. Watch. You will see a bunch of OnlyFans ads. Once the wartime come in, you see a bunch of OnlyFans ads of these girls. They say, "Oh, you want sexy time? Oh yeah, just go sign up with your recruiter, right?" Or they'll do like stuff with army recruiters or something. They'll do something to get y'all incels in here. That's what they'll do. Okay, they gotta redirect that energy. If they know that y'all got the money, y'all definitely got the ability to fight. Y'all going to Okinawa right now. They go. Let me. Y'all think I'm playing? You think I'm playing? They're gonna send all of your butts right here. All right. As soon as we burn through all of our reserves, all right, and we burn through all of our military reserves currently stationed in these countries, all right, you best believe they are coming for you. And once they draft you, guess where you're going? You're going here, and then they're gonna fly your butt all the way over to the battlefield that's going to be taking place right over here. All right. And then mainland China, they're going to be coming in waves and pelting this. And as soon as they get a beachhead established right over here, it's over. It is over. So a lot of you incels, you want to know where y'all going in the future? This is where y'all going in the future right here. So if your red pill leader is not telling you that, I don't know what else to tell you. I already know that me living in the United States, me being part of the whole selective service program, if this were to happen in 2 years, I'm going to go to war. The only thing is, I'm not going to be like an enlisted personnel or anything like that. I'm definitely going in as an officer. Your boy, hey, listen, I got credits and everything. So your boy's going to go in as an officer. Oh, one, baby. But it's just letting y'all know that y'all might even see me on the battlefield in 2 years. If this 2025 plan for World War III goes in, we might listen, none of us might actually have a choice, right? A bunch of Ukrainians woke up one day, didn't realize they were going to be at war with Russia. When everyone was talking about Russia's going to invade, people didn't think that. Ukrainian people thought propaganda. They're not going to go in and do it. And boom, war broke out overnight. None of them expected that. Over 100,000 of them are dead right now. And those young men didn't realize they were going to wake up one day being shot down by their neighbors. This is reality. This is real. Everything that's happening is real. Anything that can happen will happen. It's just a matter of time. So if y'all don't think that World War III is going to be a thing, wake the fuck up. The first one happened and the second one happened. You best believe the third one's on its way. And the thing is, what y'all don't understand about war is just a higher expression of what goes on within us. We're human beings. Matter of fact, just being alive is a self-destructive thing. Our cells are always self-destructing. When you blow it out into our situation, we're self-destructing. We self-destruct amongst each other. So war is just a higher expression of what goes on biologically speaking, meaning it's a biological part of our nature. So we can have these long periods of peace, right? What was it, like 70, 75 years since the last World War, right? But even then, there wasn't really peace. There was all these little micro wars being fought around the world by the US empire. So we've never really actually been at peace. 20 years ago, we were still in Afghanistan. There were multiple generations of soldiers, fathers who fought in the first war, and are fighting with, some of them are fighting with their sons in the same place, right? The death of all empires, Afghanistan, right? That's where we are. So if you don't believe that war can happen, you're sleeping. You might wake up one day and me and you might be on the same boat in Okinawa. You'd be like, what's up, Duke? I'm like, yeah, here we are. I told you, I did not. Yep. Just like that, it could happen. So it's just like we just got to wake up. You know, we got to wake up, right? And we have time right now. If the American people, because there's no one else that can do this. You want to talk about Europe? Every other country is a vassal state for the European Empire. So there is no leaders in Europe. The people in Europe can't even stand up to their own government because we own their government. You understand that, right? So the only people that can actually affect change is us, American people. We got to tell our government that this bullshit here needs to stop. And that general talking about war in with China by 2025 needs to resign. Get his ass out of here. We need a new policy change. We need to go back to being America first. That's what we need to go by. We need to take care of our people. We need to take care of our roads, infrastructure, schools. We need to take care of all of that. But it only takes you, the people, to do something. If you're awake, go talk to your politician, your congressman, your senator. Go talk to him. Let them know that, hey, bro, you are not going to last the next round of elections if you support this more packages to Ukraine. If you don't vote for peace talks right now, we will vote you out. That's what each and every one of you guys need to be doing. But if you look out in the world, half of the people are supporting, we got to keep funding Ukraine. We got to keep funding them. And the other half, their voices aren't even loud enough to matter because the U.S. propaganda machine will stamp out those people. And most people aren't even going to see this, right? And all the other channels that are talking about peace, they're being ridiculed or, what do you call it? Lowered on the algorithm scale. So the mainstream entity doesn't want peace. They know the direction they need to go to, right? The world, the elites, they know the direction that they need to head to. It's up to us, the people who are standing in their way, to stop them. But we just have to be awake to do so. If we don't stop this shit going on in Ukraine right now, we're never going to survive a war on two fronts with China. I'm going to guarantee you that. Because if you think this Ukraine thing is going to stop, nah. If Russia doesn't take all of Ukraine, we're still going to be arming them. And Russia will not risk that. So it's just, ooh. I didn't call you an incel, finance man. I don't think you're an incel. I don't think I called you an incel. I don't think anyone here is an incel. Man, I don't think anyone that really follow, if you follow not even my Manosphere channel, if you follow my Manosphere channel and you follow this channel, chances are you're likely more advanced than most people that just listen to most Manosphere shit, right? That is what it is. So I think highly of my audience than any other person out, any other group of people out there in the Manosphere or anything. Because like, if you can listen to me criticize your favorite content creator and still rock with me, that means you're not part of that groupthink mentality, and that means you're already above the rest of the people. All right, because most people, they'll like you until you talk about their favorite content creator, and then they hate you, right? And I've gained a lot of subscribers. I've lost a lot of subscribers. I don't care. Like, I really don't care. That's not my shtick. That's not my deal, right? My whole deal is to come out here, engage with people that want to engage with me, and then let's go from there. But I don't think that people who listen to this channel or people who listen to my other channel are incels. I think you guys are actually smarter than most, because everyone else definitely get victim to that group think mentality, and it's crazy. Evan the Trash Man says, it reminds me of 9/11. The U.S. always been based off war. Yeah, 9/11 was basically what 9/11 was to Bush is what Pearl Harbor was to Roosevelt. Was it Roosevelt? I think it was Roosevelt, right? Where we kind of knew something was coming down the pipeline to hurt us, but in order to get the American people to support us to invade those countries, we needed a reason. So Roosevelt knew an attack on Pearl Harbor was imminent. He knew it was imminent. Matter of fact, we even provoked the Japanese to attack us at Pearl Harbor. We provoked them. You made it look like our Pacific fleet was weak. All right. We stationed it at Pearl Harbor, defenseless. Okay, and the Japanese Empire, because they were rocking with Hitler at the time, they were like, well, shit, this is our chance to take out the Americans, and they're over there in the Pacific, undefended. Let's bomb their shit. Roosevelt knew they were coming, and then as soon as we bombed, because we needed a reason to get into World War II, the U.S. was sitting there doing the Rick Ross handshake, watching everything go down. I mean, we were already kind of involved by sending weapons and money. That's always been a thing, sending weapons and money, right? We've always done that. But we wanted to get boots on the ground. But the thing is, the American people were too smart back then. They said, well, what the hell? Nah, let's not get involved with European affairs. So what ended up happening was, well, their leadership said, well, the American people aren't going to go for this war unless we give them a reason to. And the president manufactured that reason. So when Japanese took down Pearl Harbor, guess what? A lot of Americans were riled up, pissed off, and they marched right into Germany. 9/11 comes around. We got to go in the Middle East, but we need a reason to go in the Middle East. We need a reason, right? We knew Osama bin Laden and some of them motherfuckers, they were part of the Saudi government. Were part of the whole orchestration of 9/11. We know that. We know that. But what did we do once when the whole thing popped off? We went after Iraq. We went after every single Middle Eastern country with a vengeance. We're attacking different countries left and right. We didn't give a fuck. Dominated all their oil fields, took over all their people, tried to stamp out whatever terrorist threat that we manufactured out there. And the ones that we did stamp out, more popped up like a fucking hydra. You take out the Taliban, ISIS pops up. Al-Qaeda pops up out of nowhere. You bomb these locations. You bomb these regions. You got Al-Qaeda. So our fucked up policies, coupled with us knowing what was going down with 9/11, people knew what that was coming. They knew that was coming. They knew that was coming down the pipeline. We just need a reason to go into those countries. And we got the reason because the American people were devastated. Their attack went on their soil and they wanted vengeance. And that gave us carte blanche to sign whatever document we needed to sign to get the American people to give up their rights so we can perpetuate endless war, and nation building overseas. That was the whole point of 9/11. It gave us that power to kickstart the war economy. Because what? The Soviet Union fell apart. We don't even have any enemies anymore. So what was the point? We needed something. Yeah, war's the new economy. And Eisenhower warned against this. He said, watch out for the military-industrial complex. Kennedy, who was... He warned about the military-industrial complex. They all warned about the military-industrial complex. They run the government. You go to DC right now, you look at what are the main corporations that are surrounding the big power centers in DC? Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing. Those are the big corporations you see surrounding the power center in DC. You look at the Pentagon. You drive by the Pentagon. Raytheon, Boeing. They're a stone throw away. That's power. That's influence. The shit that Andrew Tate got, nothing compared to what these guys had. Unless Andrew Tate got a villa next to the Pentagon, we're not talking the same thing. If Andrew Tate does not got a mention next to the Pentagon, we're not talking about the same thing. Boeing does. Matter of fact, they got headquarters all over power centers around the world. That's power. And they're a private entity. Wake up, people. And North Korea caught on to this, Evan the Trash Man. That's why they... Listen. Hot take moment. Watch this. All right. If you want to protect yourself against the U.S. empire, get nuclear weapons. That's it. Because unless you do, I mean, this is what we did with Gaddafi, right? We said, turn in all your weapons, turn in all your programs, and we'll let you live. Gaddafi said, I don't want no problems with the U.S. turns and everything. We came in and killed them. We're trying to do the same thing with Kim Jong Il. Hey, don't worry about it. Just get rid of your nuclear weapons. We'll leave you alone. But he's not dumb. He said, hey, listen, the only reason, and they only have like 40 nuclear warheads. They don't even have that many nuclear warheads. I mean, compared to the U.S., thousands of nuclear warheads we have, right? But that 40 that they have is enough to keep the U.S. out of North Korea. That's it. So if you don't want your country invaded, get nuclear weapons. But there's a reason why the U.S. doesn't want any other country wanting nuclear weapons. They don't want any of that bullshit. Why? Because nuclear weapons means you have the ability to potentially do serious damage on the world stage that can fuck up economies and shit like that, or fuck up U.S. interests around the world, and generally just kickstart a nuclear Armageddon that can pull every other nation in. So they don't want to risk that. That's just how it is. So if you don't want your country to get overthrown by the U.S. empire, get nuclear weapons. For any other country that's watching this, I don't know if you would be, but if you want to make sure your regime stays in power, get you some nukes. That's it. Get you some nukes, baby. Nukes protects you. Vegas says, hey dude, I kind of miss seeing your Grace channel. You don't want to be there though. Nah, man. I can't be around that. I can't be around that stuff, bro. I can't be around that stuff. That whole event. Listen. Me, I don't. This is how I am, bro. Because here's the thing: a lot of people who fuck with Greg, they also fuck with Alex and shit like that. But Alex's chat is a weird bunch, right? Because you guys see me, you guys know me, you guys watch my content, right? But a lot of those guys, at the end of the day, they just see me as a loudmouth black guy, which I find it so fucking interesting, right? And I never really understood that. And that reality came to me when I had a debate with that one chick, right? And it was just crazy to me how everyone was just calling me emotional, and I was yelling and I was screaming and all this bullshit. And I'm like, what? Like, is that what y'all think of me? Like, just kind of loudmouth Negro out here just walking around, talking around? Like, it's emotional? Really? Is that what you think of me? Just emotional? You think I actually care about this shit? And then I left the most emotional way possible. Like, I just left. That's the thing. People think that I'm the kind of guy that, like, just because I get passionate about certain things when I talk, they think I'm like some kind of emotional guy. Listen, a lot of my business that I conduct, zero emotion whatsoever. I never let myself get attached to things that I'm not willing to walk away from. That is a life rule that I've lived myself by. If you and me, we don't see eye to eye, I leave. I'm gone. I don't even need. Sometimes I don't even need to explain why I'm leaving. I'm just gone. Right. So, which is what I found weird, because I knew who I was. If I didn't want to fuck with y'all, I just wouldn't fuck with y'all. But like the fact that they had those stereotypes about me, bro, dude, that chat was fucking toxic. And I think a lot of them spill over into Greg's channel. I fuck with Greg. I fuck with all of them. I just don't want to be around that, especially if I'm sitting there saying, like, okay, right now on this channel, right, or on my other channel, if I'm sitting here talking to you guys understand me, you guys know me, you're not gonna see me as some kind of loudmouth Tyrone. Right. I mean, the closest person they can compare me to over there is Allende, which is the only other black guy who's a content creator they've had on there, which is crazy to me. Like, why out of any other content creator would you compare me to the only other black guy? He has dreads. I'm bald. Two different things. Like, what the hell? Like, oh, you argue, you talk just like him. What? What? That's great. Like, the prejudice was crazy to me, bro. So I'm just like, listen, dog, if y'all gonna have that mentality about me, you think I'm emotional, all right, that's on you. But I'm gonna tell you this. The decision, when I make decisions, it's like there's zero emotion involved whatsoever. If my decision to not hang out with you anymore, there's no emotion, no hurt feelings, no nothing. It's just I'm going. And that's how most of y'all should live your life. Y'all should never get attached to people, because being attached to things, that causes problems. You never be attached to things, bro. If that thing is too great for you to walk away from, that's a problem. That's a big problem in your life. So even if I have lots of friends, and there are lots of friends I used to have that I cut off. Some of them don't even know they were cut off. It's that quick, right? And then most of y'all should live your life that way. Like, don't let people titter totter and play with your emotions like that. If people see you a certain way, cool. Remove yourself from the scenario, and don't think twice about it, and just keep walking in your power. That's it. So Greg and them, they're nice, great people, but if they're gonna surround themselves with people who are Judas, I don't want to be around that. You know, that just is what it is. I can't conversate with fake people. I can't do that. I can't be around that. I can't even be on your platform if I know majority of your audience are just phony. I can't do that. Like that's just not me. I'll come in with good faith, but if I know all y'all niggas are fake, like I ain't, I ain't get out of here. No, Vega, I know you don't talk. I know you don't think of that about me because you actually follow my channel. You've been around my channel for a long time, so you know who I am. But a lot of those guys, they just think I'm some kind of loudmouth black dude, which is crazy to me. If that's all you see me as, it's like, all right, bro. Well, if I'm someone loudmouth, emotional black guy, well, let me show you how emotional I am. I'm gone with no emotion whatsoever. And I don't feel bad about it either. I'm cool. I'm just doing my thing. I'm just living life. That's just how it is, that's how things is. But like don't let people decide who you are. Don't let people put you in categories, right? If you start to see that, remove yourself from the situation. um yeah, they're known for being toxic, man. Like that's a thing. And the thing is, I rock with Alex still. You know what I'm saying? I rock with him. I rock with a lot of his stuff. But I've even told him on personal occasions, like, bro, like I don't know where these people came from in your chat, but they are crazy. Like they're insane. Like some of these guys are insane. Like you give them, they'll ask for evidence. You show them evidence, they denounce the evidence. It's like what on what planet? Like dude is showing you evidence right there. Oh no, it's not real. Like the most toxic group of people I've ever seen. So if you're not even willing to listen to facts and evidence, and y'all already see me as some kind of emotional person, bruh, there's no need to convince you. I'm just gonna remove myself from the scenario. Period. So like Alex knows what's going on, and it sucks because I really wanted to do that challenge with B Mac. I really want to do that. I bought my ticket and everything, bro. But even before me and B Mac finalized the whole thing, I already had my ticket ready because it's easy work with B Mac. It's easy work, right? But then it's like when you're looking at the whole scenario, it's just like, wait, why would I spend money to go entertain an audience that just see me as some kind of loudmouth black dude? At the end of the day, it's still not going to change the perception. It's still not going to do anything. So I'm just spending. And mind you, B Mac wasn't paying for his ticket. Alex was. So just to keep that in mind, Alex was paying for B Mac's ticket. So B Mac wasn't going to pay for his ticket. And then I'm supposed to go in there and entertain a bunch of people that are just going to view me as a Negro that's loud and emotional. Y'all can kiss my ass on that one, especially if he's not gonna pay for his ticket, but I'm gonna pay for my ticket. Go on there, nah, bro. Like, nah, bro. Nah, y'all ain't gonna do me like that. I don't listen. You're not gonna do me like that. I wasn't born yesterday. You can't play me like that, bro. I'm not gonna entertain your toxic chat while nah, bro. Like a lot of that stuff is just like, you know what? If this is what they view me as, I'm gonna just take my ball and go home. Listen, take my ball and go home. But yeah, they're super fucking toxic, bro. They just crazy as hell. I don't want to be around that nonsense. Predator Kingdom, shout out to you, says I do the same thing. It's how I operate. You never know when I cut you off. That's facts. That now most young people, it don't matter, young, old. That's what most young people should be doing that right now. But that's what you should do. You cut people off. Most people got cut off. They don't even know. Like, damn, bro, it was like that. It's like that. Yeah, I didn't appreciate that. That's just what it was. I'm not gonna sit there and be in your face and tell you why I'm cutting you off or whatever it is. I'm just gonna leave. It's less drama that way, right? And people think you're a cold-hearted asshole for doing that, right? And in a way, you do come off as a cold-hearted asshole, but you are respecting the boundaries you set for yourself. And the thing is, if you're not gonna respect your own boundaries, who the fuck is gonna respect you? Think about it. How can I respect you if I know you ain't got no boundaries whatsoever? I can't. I can't even bring myself to even give you an ounce of respect because I know you have boundaries that you won't let anybody cross. But if people know that, yo, don't mess with that guy because if he says he's gonna leave, he probably gonna leave. He's not gonna fuck with you no more. And everyone knows he's known for sticking with his word. You're not gonna fuck with that guy because he's known for sticking with his word, right? Because your word is everything in this world. Because everything online, everything in this world can be faked, but your word is everything. And if people could trust your word and they know you're not playing games with them, that's a whole different level of respect, bro. And that's what I live for. My word is my bond. Like, ask everybody that's around me. Ask everybody that know me, bro. Like, when I say something, I come through. I always come through because I know I know what it means to be effective. Because when you're effective in your own friend group and people respect you, well, guess what? They come to you for help. They come to you for assistance. They come to you for favors, things like that. That boosts your standing within your own community. So why do you think certain people within their own community, they become superstars, right? People respect them. People trust them. They take care of their own people. They take care of their own hood. I'm that kind of person. It is what it is. If I say something, I'm going to do it. I have to do it. I have to come through on it. Because if I don't get the respect. This would be something for a lot of young men to read, man. How to cultivate respect, how to build your own tribe, how to build a community of people that really will revere you and look at you as someone they can come to for help when they're in need. Not just with like monetary shit, but like problem solving, right? Because for me, like whenever people have issues, they come to talk to me about it. Because I'll be spitting. Sometimes I don't even know that, but I'll be spitting facts. And they'll just sit there and listen, like, damn, bro, just sitting here talking to you definitely helped me out. And they go about and do their thing. Why is that able to happen? Because I'm able to do things and lead by example. If I'm sitting here being wishy-washy on things, that tanks it down. So for those of you guys out there, you want to build accolades, you want to build respect, you want to build a good sense of community where people are going to depend on you as a man, because this, to me, that's what it means to be a man. I know most manosphere people, they don't want the responsibility. They don't feel as though that the responsibility of other people should be theirs. I understand that. For me, growing up, especially coming from West Africa, that's just how it is. To be a tribal chief, right? In our tribe, Igbo, to be a chief, you got to be able to take care of your people, and people have to be able to depend on you. I live for shit like that. I want to be able to feel like I'm dependent on, right? That's a good feeling. Why do you think so many men right now, they're contemplating suicide? They're contemplating all these different things because no one depends on them. No one needs them. They're coming into the world where the media is saying you're useless. Well, I know that's not true because you can put in the work to be a dependable individual, and that starts with your word. If you can keep your word and back it up with action, can't nobody fuck with you. So I live that life 100%. What else? Finance. Yeah, I was born in Nigeria. I was from Anambra State. That's where I'm from. Yep. Uh, well, that's my Anambra State's my tribe, my area, but I was born in Lagos. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. So yeah, all the way from the motherland, fatherland is what we call it actually. But yeah, so it's just a different breed. Like even when it comes down to, I'm gonna say this last thing for this live stream going too long, but when it comes down to the whole women aspect, right? When a lot of these guys, they think, I don't want to pay 50-50, I don't want to do this. Okay, I get it, because equality and whatnot, but like that's not how it rolls in other country, bro. In other country, if you're a man takes care of everything, like his family, his everything, bro. A respectable man takes care of his community. A revered man takes care of his country. He takes care of his state, everything, right? That's how you climb those ranks. You can't just sit there and say, I want 50-50. I want the woman to do her thing, I want to do my thing, and then still expect respect. Like how does that work? Like, nah, bro, you have to be demanding of respect. You have to make sure that people depend on you for things. And then they respect you if you follow through. If you say you're gonna do something and you do it, they respect you, and they'll come to you for more things. And on top of that, they'll tell other people like, "Hey, listen, I know this guy is a good guy. If he says he's gonna help you, he's gonna help you. Go see him." Networking, that's how that shit works too. So a lot of things, that people don't really understand about like interaction and people relations, and they just go around thinking that they deserve things. That's what this manosphere does. It just teaches men how to be big children. Just no responsibilities whatsoever. Just be a child. Take care of yourself for the rest of your life. Walk away from women. Walk away from all that stuff. Right? Don't learn how to be dependable whatsoever. Just live your life for you. Right? And it's a wrong mentality. You got to get out of your own head, buddy. All right. You got to learn how to take care of other people. You got to learn. It sounds crazy. It sounds nuts. But trust me, man. The best way to get ahead in life is to take care of other people. For realsies, that's what I'm saying. If you want to be successful in life, help other people. That's the only way you're gonna be successful. If you don't, you will fail because you need people to be successful. And that's the end of it. But guys, it has been a pleasure. I'm gonna catch you guys next week. Don't worry, I'll try not to dive into the Manosphere stuff later towards this stream. But we'll go ahead and cover more as the whole issue on Ukraine unfolds. We definitely will be there to cover that bullshit. But guys, I appreciate you guys being with us here on Sunday. Go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.